Welcome to Honeybee. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Real stories of love, lies, and betrayal, where every truth stings. Let's begin. My name is Vincent, and this is a story I never imagined I'd share. I didn't just lose a marriage. I lost a version of myself that believed love could survive anything. But before I get ahead of myself, let me take you back to the start. I met Katie years ago at a startup summit, one of those networking events where entrepreneurs and professionals gather to share ideas, meet new people, and hopefully open doors to future opportunities. Honestly, I hadn't even planned on going that day. I had a pile of work waiting for me, and I wasn't the type who enjoyed standing around a crowded hall making small talk. Still, something nudged me to show up, and that one choice set everything into motion. Katie and I met during a discussion on business scalability. She was full of ambition, overflowing with energy, and had a confidence that drew people in. She was working to launch a business, but had holes in her strategy, weaknesses I noticed immediately. We struck up a conversation, which quickly turned into a deep discussion about business models, funding strategies, and the obstacles of building something from the ground up. She asked thoughtful, sharp questions, and I had the answers. At that moment, it was nothing more than two professionals sharing knowledge. By the end of the summit, we exchanged contacts. She said she wanted to stay in touch, to ask for advice when needed. I didn't think much of it then. To me, it was just another networking connection. But looking back, that was a first step toward everything that followed. At first, our conversation stayed purely professional. She'd call asking how to structure her pricing, how to bring in investors, how to deal with difficult clients. I always had advice, and she always seemed genuinely grateful. It felt good helping someone so determined to succeed. But as time passed, those calls became more frequent, and our conversation slowly drifted away from business. We started talking about life, goals, and setbacks. We went from coffee meetings to lunch breaks to long evening talks that had nothing to do with market trends. I began to see Katie beyond a professional image. She had a playful side, a quick wit that could catch me off guard. Soon, those casual meetups became the highlight of my day. One afternoon over coffee, she suggested I join her company. At first, I hesitated. I was doing fine on my own as a consultant. But Katie made a strong argument. She wanted someone she could trust by her side, someone who understood her vision as deeply as she did. She offered me a good salary, benefits, and most importantly, a real stake in building something meaningful. It wasn't an easy decision. Mixing business and personal life could get messy. But in the end, I agreed. The first 2 months were intense. I worked tirelessly, proving myself not just as her advisor, but as someone who could execute and make things happen. I stayed in the background, letting Katie be the face of the company, while I focused on operations, solving problems, and making sure everything ran efficiently. Before long, we both realized our bond had grown beyond business. Late nights at the office turned into lingering looks, and before we knew it, we weren't just colleagues anymore. Less than a year after I joined, we got married. It felt perfect, the ideal blend of business and life. We were a power couple. Katie led from the front, and I made key decisions from behind the scenes. I never minded that she was a CEO, the one everyone admired. My role was just as important, and for 5 years, it worked. The company thrived. Our marriage felt rock solid. Or at least, that's what I believed. Then came the day we hired Fred. At first, he was just another name on the payroll. He had a knack for talking himself out of trouble, spinning excuses into acceptable explanations, and somehow managing to look busy while doing almost nothing. I figured he wouldn't last long, not in a results-driven company like ours. People like Fred usually get weeded out. But I was wrong. Instead of holding him accountable, Katie protected him. Not because he was good, but because she made sure he faced no consequences for his mistakes. At first, I brushed it off. Everyone deserves a learning curve, right? But the pattern became obvious. Fred missed deadlines, botched reports, came in late, yet Katie covered for him every single time. If the team pointed out his mistakes, she downplayed them, shifted blame, or acted like they weren't a big deal. This was the same woman who used to pride herself on running a tight ship. But apparently, the rules no longer applied to Fred. Something about it felt wrong. And then I began noticing how much time they spent together. Lunch breaks stretched into hours. Private meetings kept happening behind closed doors. Katie insisted Fred be the one to drive her around for company errands. I wasn't the only one noticing. The office whispers grew louder, employees exchanging looks and muttering when they thought I couldn't hear. I wasn't someone who jumped to conclusions. I wanted to believe my wife. But the pieces were starting to form a picture I couldn't ignore. One night, I decided to ask her about it. Just one simple question: what's going on with Fred? Her reaction told me everything I needed to know. Instead of answering, she went defensive immediately. "Oh, so now you're jealous," she snapped, as if I'd accused her of something outrageous. I hadn't even brought up the rumors. I was just asking about his performance. But within minutes, she had flipped the conversation, making me the problem for even bringing it up. From then on, any mention of Fred turned into a fight. She'd roll her eyes, sigh, or outright ignore me. And if I pushed, she'd accuse me of being paranoid, insecure, or controlling. That was when I realized something had shifted. Katie no longer respected me, and I had no idea how to fix it. Then came the business trips. At first, they seemed normal. She was the CEO, after all, but I knew our industry inside out. Most of the deals she said she needed to handle in person could have easily been done over email or a phone call, just like we used to do. But suddenly, she was traveling almost every other week, and always with Fred. Every time I asked why he was going instead of me, she had an excuse ready. "Oh, Fred helps me as an assistant. Do you want to replace him?" I was speechless. It was becoming clear she was using every excuse she could to spend more time with him. The timing was always suspicious. Last-minute trips, weekends away, unexplained schedule changes. And the office gossip didn't stop. If anything, it got worse. Eventually, I had enough. One night after she returned from another business trip, I confronted her directly. I told her there were rumors about her and Fred. Her response? A shrug. And then, "What do you want me to do about rumors?" No denial. No reassurance. She simply walked away. That was when I knew something was very, very wrong. Then came the day my marriage truly collapsed. We had just finished a routine board meeting about quarterly projections. As everyone left, I stayed back with Katie to discuss strategy. We stepped into her office, and as she set her files down, she said she needed to use a restroom, leaving her phone behind on the desk. Almost immediately, her screen lit up with a message. I glanced, and my world stopped. It was from Fred. "Damn, you look hot in that gown today. I'd love to give you back shots with you still wearing it." For a few seconds, I couldn't move. Everything I'd suspected was true. My wife was sleeping with Fred. The same man she defended, the same man she chose over me at work, and now in bed. I felt a wave of anger, but I stayed calm. I pulled out my phone, snapped a picture of the message, and slipped it back into my pocket. I knew if I confronted her without proof, she'd twist it around, gaslight me, make me look like the jealous husband. I wasn't giving her that chance. I walked out of her office before she returned. That afternoon, I buried myself in work, trying to keep it together. Then I found out one of our clients had raised complaints, and as operations lead, I knew exactly who was at fault: Fred. I addressed it professionally, pointing out the errors. But before Fred could respond, Katie jumped in, not just offending him, but attacking me. The room went silent. Everyone shifted uncomfortably. Fred just leaned back, smug, letting Katie fight his battle. I could have argued, but what was the point? I nodded slowly, stood up, and walked to my office. I opened my laptop, typed my resignation, and included one line she couldn't ignore. "I am resigning effective immediately and ending our marriage. I know about your infidelity." I signed it, printed it, and dropped it on her desk. Katie glanced at it, confusion flashing across her face, but I didn't wait for her to speak. I just left. That night, she came home and sat across from me on the couch. "Vincent, we need to talk," she said carefully. She denied everything at first, claiming it was office gossip, insisting I was throwing our life away over rumors. Then she leaned forward and tried to fix it, saying I didn't need to resign. We could work things out. I let her finish, then quietly pulled out my phone, opened the photo, and turned it toward her. Her expression changed instantly. She didn't deny it. She didn't even try. Instead, she just asked, quietly, "What do you want?" I told her, a clean break, no caught battles. I wanted half of the company I helped build. She hesitated, but she knew she had no leverage. A scandal would destroy her reputation. So she agreed. I walked away with half of the company, and then fired Fred with a single termination notice. But I didn't stop there. I called in a few favors, sent a few emails, and within days, Fred was blacklisted. Katie and I barely spoke after that. The divorce was finalized, the papers signed. She still runs her half of the company, and I stay involved from a distance. But make no mistake, she's not in control anymore. Even now, I still wonder, was it a mistake to work for my wife? Back then, I thought joining her company was an act of trust, a symbol that we were building something side by side. But I didn't see the power imbalance forming. I went from being her partner to her employee. From husband to afterthought. Maybe love blinded me. Maybe I should have seen it coming. Sometimes I wonder if I went too easy on her. I could have taken more. I could have destroyed her reputation the way she destroyed our marriage. But I didn't. Maybe I handled it right. Maybe not. What do you think? Should I have gone further, or did I make the right call? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Until next time.